Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Essays in Espresso podcast. I am your host, Daniel.
The host with the least.
The
host with the least.
I am joined by an interrupting piece of shit, Acer.
I'm the host.
The
with
one
the
who
most.
interrupted me.
I'm the host with the most. Thank you.
I'd ask how you're doing, but I don't care now because you're so rude.
You know how I'm doing? I'm doing pretty good.
Don't care.
I'm doing good.
Boken.
I would never interrupt you.
See,
Beta.
this is why Boken and me are best buds. I don't know about that Acer guy.
You two have been conspiring to replace me on this podcast with that girl who likes Yu-Gi-Oh in Kingsfield.
I mean, if we replace her with you, she basically has all of your positive attributes.
Replace me with her. You don't replace her with me.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
But is she also into comics? Because if not, that might be a plus.
That might be. I don't know.
Hey, you two suck.
She might be a guest on soon, though. She was literally on Twitter like, oh my God, please, someone invite me on their podcast. And I was like, I think we can make that happen.
She was like, ooh, woo, poo wee, someone invite me on their podcast. And you were like, silly girl, podcast off of Twix.
Hey, man, if someone wants to be on our podcast, I say we let them.
That can only end well.
I love doing other people's podcasts because this is like a little secret, like behind the tricks of the trade, people. There is nothing as good as recording a shit ton of audio that you're not responsible for editing. It's just like,
that is true.
I will do a podcast simply to revel in not having to worry about the audio. But I have to edit this one, so I'm trying to be on my best behavior, not make too many noises, not chew bubble gum in the middle of things.
I swear to fucking God.
But go wild when
every single
when it's my
time
turn.
I edit this. Every single time I edit this podcast, I always dread your audio specifically, Acer, because there's always some bullshit. There's always something. It's never happening on Boken's audio. Maybe sometimes on my audio, but always on yours. You're always doing something. You're eating some fucking cereal.
No,
you're fucking munching on some shit. You're slurping on your coffee.
That is not. I will drink a cup of coffee, but you don't need to edit that out. People can listen to that. That's diegetic.
No, I wasn't.
I have had to edit out. I've had to edit out Mexican soap operas or some shit from your audio.
What?
Me?
Yeah!
Well, it's certainly not going to be mine, Daniel.
I have never watched a single Mexican soap opera. I'm also Cuban. I'm not Mexican.
I know, that's why it's so weird.
At least you can tell the difference between a Cuban and a Mexican soap opera.
I have a keen ear for these things.
Yes, you can tell the subtle differences between a Mexican, a Cuban, a Nicaraguan, Venezuelan, Portuguese, of course.
Of course. I think I could tell the difference between like a Spanish speaking country and a Portuguese speaking country like Brazil. I think I could tell.
I've heard Portuguese and it sounded nothing like Spanish.
That's why I think I can tell.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
You know what language sounds kind of like Spanish is French.
Oh, no shit, buddy.
Yeah.
Well,
what an observation.
Having actually learned a bit of French, they're structured very similarly.
Yeah.
They're Roman languages, of course.
Hey, you know what language kind of sounds like a bitch? German, when Boken speaks it.
Oh, snap. By the way, Boken, I don't care about Bibi und Tina in and of itself. I just want to know, why did you subject yourself to it? I need to know.
Okay, first of all, I don't know why you're bringing this up when we haven't talked about anything yet.
Because it's killing me. I need to know why.
Second of all,
what was the impetus?
say our fucking topic first.
Hey, don't
Our
swear.
topic is
I have to
Batman
edit that
Begins.
out.
We're gonna talk about the movie for some reason. We Boken and I rewatched it because Acer was like, "Oh my god, guys, it's actually secretly the best Batman movie. We have to watch it." So that's our topic. Boken, what the fuck is Bibi and Tina?
Okay. So Bibi und Tina is... I think it's like it started as a German cartoon or something. I don't know. I don't know how far it's going back. But Bibi is basically
There's
like...
lore?
Well, it's just based on a cartoon or fable. Or, I don't fucking know. Like Bibi is a teenage witch who's living in the countryside with her friend Tina.
What? I thought this was just about girls riding on horses.
Those are two girls. They just... I mean, that's been probably a comic. I don't know. I know it's been a cartoon show in the 80s or 90s. And they also remade them as movies now.
So this is like 40 years old?
This is super old, yeah. You can find very old pictures of these. It's just a cartoon for kids that's old. And they keep bringing it up.
You know what I love?
They keep rebooting it?
Yeah.
I love about like American media. People will just, until they're blue in the face, complain about Marvel movies and that sort of stuff. This is the competition. Right? Germany does not get to complain about American movies when this is the crap you make.
Hey, I didn't make anything, okay? I do not condone
wash
these
my
movies.
hands of this.
These movies are fucking trash. Like, for real.
If you come from somewhere, you are wholly responsible for what comes out of there.
Hey, Germany has made some fine movies, I think. I don't watch them, but...
Hey, Germany has made some bad decisions. Germany's made some good decisions. We're all friends here.
So it's all a wash in the end. So I watched all 4 existing new Bibi und Tina movies.
I still don't understand.
It was hard. Like I am used to getting through trash now. This was hard. This took a lot of will out of me. I think I aged 5 years in the process of watching these, because they're just like, they're awful. They're unfunny. They have so much music in them. They're basically half musicals, and every fucking song will make you just curl up in shame. I legitimately, every time a new song started, I had to fucking just stand up and move around a bit in my apartment and then just cope with my life.
Do you like musicals generally though?
No.
Really? How about musical theater?
No. I never really gave it a shot. I think I liked West Side Story.
West Side Story is good.
Yeah, I think I liked a couple of songs in West Side Story. I like the musical episode in Scrubs. That's one of my favorites. I've never really given those a chance, though, in general.
I think
there's a Spider-Man musical play.
Yeah, Turn Off the Dark, and it's a disaster, and they had to keep rewriting it.
Disaster, exactly. I saw a video about it recently, and I was blown away by everything. It was... They're even releasing a book about it because it was that much of a disaster that like someone was like, I gotta write about my experience making this fucking trash.
Well, it's also like Spider-Man is mishandled in the movies when Sony is in control, but this is also like the musical theater group is in control, and clearly nobody gets the core of this character because they had to like keep creating new characters. Like there was ones, like they just changed the script in between shows. So, like, they introduced this character called Swiss Miss, who was like this.
Yes.
Yeah, I think she was like an Austrian bodybuilder or something like that. I have no idea, but it's like.
Go on.
But it's like, why don't you get that? Like, the Spider-Man, the story, it's just like a kid coming to become like he's becoming a man and he's facing adversity. That's it. You don't do any of these extra things. It's not. It's simple. You do it simple. I think Batman would make a really good musical. There's that great episode of Batman Beyond, where Terry McGinnis takes Bruce Wayne to the Batman musical, and they could just do that.
So what's really weird about this Spider-Man play is that Spider-Man doesn't get his powers from the radioactive spider. he got it because of a spider goddess
Of course.
in the background. She just like decided to give Peter Parker the Spider-Man abilities for some fucking reason.
Was it Madam Web?
No, it was an original character. Like, I think it was actually a Greek goddess
See, this
that
is the
they
sort of...
turned into a spider lady.
the hubris, the ego of these people behind musical theater, that they took Spider-Man, like the most beloved American superhero of all time, almost, and they're like, we can do better than this. So you don't wanna maybe think why people like this character?
So what's really extra super weird about this is that at the very end, she tries to fuck Spider-Man.
Oh. Goddess
Like, she
on
is, like,
teenager
who
action.
she is-
The goddess or the bodybuilder?
The goddess.
How
She
old
is
is
like
Spider-Man
super
in this?
horny for Peter Parker.
How old is he in this?
I don't remember his age.
Is he in high school?
I
Potentially
really don't
problematic.
know. I don't think they make that clear. It is a play after all.
Look, I'll make the bold claim. A goddess is not bound by the age of consent laws, if they existed.
So like, you know how you said that they changed the story?
Yeah.
So like, what happened was that they called it Turn Off the Dark 1.0 essentially, where it focuses. Okay, I'm looking at it now. Her name was Arachne, goddess of the weavers.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So she was very prominent in this original like preview version of the show. And because people hated it so much, they reworked it so that she becomes a narrator.
Ugh.
Because the costume was really expensive, so they weren't just going to throw it away. So instead, they just turned her into a narrator. And then the second like iteration of the show, apparently it's fine. Like it's what you would expect from like a Spider-Man musical, I guess. But it's this first version of the show that's interesting because of this weird character who's horny for Peter Parker, and the play ends with her like wanting Peter to either like love her or kill her, and Peter's like, I don't want to do any of that. I don't even know you, because she and Peter Parker had no interactions throughout the entire thing except for dreams. He's dreaming about her. And then they don't actually meet until the very end, and she's like, love me or kill me. It's so fucking weird. And apparently, the reason why it's so weird is because this character, Arachne, is a self-insert by the showrunner. Julie Taymor. Julie Taymor was pretty much kicked off for the revision of the show. And that's when the show became more normal. But what ended up happening is that this weird version of the show is actually way more interesting.
This is I love stuff like this where, and it's the same with like when they did that horrible Sonic redesign for that movie, where it's like, there are so many people who are involved in like the decision-making process. There are so many people whose signatures need to be on the documents for a Spider-Man musical. How on earth did they just land on the least competent person in the world to helm it? Like, just
so really,
how come nobody was like, no, you need to get somebody who knows the material.
So here's the thing. She on paper, she wasn't a bad choice because she had done a Lion King musical play that was really successful. It made a ton of money. It was really good. But the reason why that worked,
well, the
and why
songs
Spider-Man
are all there
didn't,
before
is because
her.
someone had a leash on her.
Yeah, but also like,
and Spider-Man
didn't she
had
just
full
take?
reign.
Didn't she just take the Elton John songs and like just do that story?
I don't know. I didn't watch the Lion King one, but apparently it was really successful and it was really good. But like part of it was because there was more of a leash on her and to keep her in check. While the Spider-Man one, she had like full control and she just did whatever the fuck she wanted.
Hey, I love a creator who just takes a wild swing, so I guess I support this.
I mean, like I said, when like the original version is bad, but like it's bad in like a really fascinating way. And what the show ended up being after the fact is not really notable.
Yeah, I mean it's not currently running anywhere, is it?
No, but you can. There's a video by a creator named Lady Emily. I recommend just watching her video on it. That's basically all you'll need to know. Just watch her video.
Now,
You know
I would
who's
just
a-
like to point out that before we started recording, Asa was complaining that we always take way too much time to go into our topics. And I was just interrupted for this tangent.
Well, your topic
Without
was a
any of
lousy
my-
topic.
I was thinking about that. I'm sorry, Boken, but this is a really interesting thing.
No, it's
You know
fine.
what's-
I just want to say it's not my fault.
It's not your fault. No, it's not.
It is the
It's
fault of the
Daniel's-
man who complained.
It's Daniel's fault for indulging me. You know,
well,
you know what musical I really like. If you can get it, it's the 10th anniversary of Les Mis, where I think it's like Philip Quast plays Javert. That's a good musical. I also like the Ramin Karimloo Sierra Boges rendition of Phantom of the Opera. That's a really good one. I fucking hate Hamilton. People keep talking about Hamilton like, oh, it's like this great, really fun play. It's fucking trash. It's just full of white people rap. It's awful. I fucking
What?
hate it
It's full
so
of
much.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. Yeah, it has no bite. It's not funny. It's not clever. It just sucks. Jesus Christ Superstar is pretty good, though. Andrew Lloyd Webber made a lot of bangers, but then he did, like, Love Never Dies, like the sequel to Phantom of the Opera, and it's like, what is this? Did you not understand? Like, why don't you know what the point of the original was, that you've done this terrible sequel now? But I suppose it has its fans, so.
I should watch Jesus Christ Superstar. There's
You
a metal
should.
band that I like. I think the singer has also been in a bunch of Jesus Christ Superstar musical performances. And I think they covered one of the songs from that as a metal version, and it's really good.
Have you seen the have you ever seen the movie they did back in like the 60s or 70s?
No.
The guy they got to play Jesus there, they brought him back on Broadway like a few years ago, and he's in his like 70s or 80s, and he's playing Jesus Christ. But it's really good. Like he's not lost the voice. He can still hit all the crazy high notes. It's really good. I recommend that movie too. I love that movie. It's super weird, but it's super fun.
You
Okay.
still haven't answered the question. Why? Why Bibi and Tina?
Okay, so
Why?
the reason why I watched this is there's
Oh, yeah, that's right.
there's a German channel, a German analysis or film analysis channel called, well, Filmanalyse, which is German for film analysis.
How creative.
It's it's by a really cool guy, a guy that I like called Jürgen M. Schmidt. Funny person who only wears suits literally everywhere, even when he goes grocery shopping. He's kind of a weirdo. But he looks at movies from just, mostly a political and social level. And like he's fairly well read about whatever politics and philosophy and shit. And he just goes into these movies, even like complete Marvel trash and shit like that. He always looks at the political implications of those universes and what it says about a society. Whatever. The point is, he made
Sounds like a real hoot.
He made videos on Bibi and Tina, which I didn't even think about those movies before I saw his video on them. And that's when I knew I had to watch them. Because he made some really interesting points about, like in the Bibi and Tina movies, they're very black and white. Even though they try not to be, like they also deal with like immigrants and shit. But they're really ham-handed about it, and they just make things worse because they still portray immigrants as really like cliched and stereotypical. And they also he like pointed out that these movies they portray something about Germany that I find fascinating, which is there's a sort of romanticism about living on the countryside, like the good old times out on the countryside where you're just living in your little chateau, herding your sheep, and being one with nature and just going riding and shit. And that's kind of where Bibi and Tina live in the movies. There's like a, sort of old baron, is that or count, I guess, who's owning the lands that these movies take place on. And then the villain of the first movie, for example, is like a hardcore turbo capitalist who just wants to take everything for himself. And he's like so clearly the bad guy because he's just super competitive and he doesn't play by the rules and he just wants more money and more land. And it's like, so one side is portrayed very evil and the other side is portrayed as completely good. But if you think about it, those landowners from back in the day were just as terrible to their subjects.
Are you
just as horrible?
Are you seriously complaining right now that a little movie made for fucking kids?
I'm not complaining, Asa. I'm saying these things are just portrayed as normal, as romanticized, and it is not reflected upon. And I found it interesting that he sort of noted that and pointed that out, because it says something about the society that you're living in, that an older sort of still capitalist who is owning the lands and taking rent and, landowner is portrayed as the good guy, while capitalism is portrayed as the villain. And it's like stuff like that comes up in the movies.
I'd love to see this guy talk about, like, Barbie on the Swan Lake and be like, well, this is fucking ridiculous because, the monarchs of ancient Europe, they were also fucking terrible.
But he's not mad about it. That's the fun part. He points it out, and he's right.
Yeah,
about
what a fun guy. Sounds awful.
No, it doesn't.
It sounds awful. It sounds like the most nitpicky nothing topic ever.
It's not. I think it represents something that
I don't.
It's sort of very low-key propaganda that is portrayed to children. I mean, these movies are super successful. And it's not reflected upon that what the people actually represent and what history actually looked like when you take these people into account. And there are tons of shows of like just Germans living out in the countryside and dealing with small time village problems and shit. Like, der Landarzt, a doctor out in the countryside driving from village to village and helping people. And it's always just, living in nature. Oh, look, there's a fucking, I don't know, there's a fox. Isn't that cute? It's primetime television in Germany, especially for old people. And I found that interesting, that this very rose-tinted view on the recent past is just portrayed in also these kids' movies again. So that's why I watched them, and also they're just fucking terrible. And they're cringe as fuck, but I found it funny in a way.
I'm so mad that you've spent 24 minutes talking about this.
I sincerely recommend those analysis videos to anyone who speaks German.
Do you recommend those movies?
They're really funny.
Do you recommend the movies?
No. I can't, in good conscience, subject anyone to these. But I'm sincerely thinking about going to the fifth one when it comes to cinema.
Oh my god.
But I might also have to take a couple of friends because I go on my own to a movie filled with teenage girls. It might get very weird for me. I think.
No, I think you'll be fine.
The worst thing is these are some of the worst movies I've ever seen, but I'm so invested now because I've seen them, and I want to see where it goes next.
I believe they call that Stockholm syndrome.
Maybe. Yes.
Do you know what Stockholm syndrome? Apparently, that's not real.
Really?
Really? Apparently, it doesn't really exist.
Are you sure you're not confusing that with the... What is that?
I'm pretty sure it's
the internet
syndrome.
phenomenon, the other one, the famous one, where
the
people
one where...
think they are knowledgeable, but they aren't.
Oh, that's the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
a
it's not
psychological
that.
study came out that proved the Dunning-Kruger effect is basically nonsense, and it can't be.
Yeah, I heard that's also
be
not
proven.
true.
You know what else people always get wrong is positive and negative reinforcement. Like positive reinforcement, that doesn't mean you're reinforcing a positive behavior. It means like you're utilizing stimuli to reinforce behavior, whereas negative reinforcement you do by creating you're reinforcing a behavior by removing stimuli.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like people use
Okay.
it and they go, well, positive reinforcement, like negative reinforcement. Well, you're giving a kid a toy for lashing out in the store. That's negative reinforcement. No. That's
No.
positive reinforcement.
You
But
know what
people
else
always
people
use it
screw up
erroneously.
is when they say schizophrenia, but they really mean multiple identity disorder.
Yeah, or like bipolarism or something.
Well, bipolar. Yeah. Well, bipolar is not multiple identities.
No, but
No.
I've heard
And-
people use schizophrenia when they mean bipolar.
Oh, yeah, sure. And also people confuse identity with personality
Yes.
all the time.
That being said, I think it's okay that people
Yeah,
get it. Like I don't begrudge anyone for getting it wrong. I've probably gotten it wrong in my own my own.
I've also heard that they don't use the specific term multiple personality disorder anymore.
No, it's like identity.
No, it's
Something.
dissociative
Yeah,
identity
dissociative
disorder.
identity
I think.
Yes,
disorder.
dissociative identity. There you go. Wow, we're learning a lot today, folks. Isn't that grand?
Yeah,
I had a minor in psychology.
Bogan,
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
your topics are done.
Okay.
It's almost
and-
30 minutes.
Okay.
Man, I wanted to
that
talk about
means,
Heartstopper.
Acer, we are now transitioning to your topic.
You fucking assholes took away all my time with your Spider-Man nonsense. Now I can't talk about a really good LGBTQ show. Fuck you.
Heartstopper? Did it stop your heart?
It did. I was
Okay, you
crying
can
at
have
the
1
end.
minute. You can have 1 minute, but then Daniel doesn't get a topic. How's that sound?
Okay, watch Heartstopper on Netflix. It's legitimately really, really cute. It's like a show about a gay teen who...
How many seasons? How many episodes?
There's only 6 episodes, 30 minutes per episode. It's really short. It has just been renewed for season 2 and 3. It's a British show. And it's just about this gay teen, like gay teen boy, whatever. Well, yeah, gay. Who is sitting next to the star rugby player, and they bond. And then maybe the rugby player, you know, maybe it's more than friendship. Maybe the rugby player isn't sure about his sexuality anymore. And it's just this really, like, insanely uplifting and cute show that had me, I don't know, I had emotional reactions to the show that I usually don't have, because it's just portrayed, like, it's so hopeful. There's no misery porn there, like in a 13 Reasons Why, where it's just about, oh,
Like
we're
Bibi
so
and
fucked up,
Tina.
oh my god. And instead, you're just watching these two, like, text each other, and you can see, like, the thing where you see their phone screen and they're writing the message, and then they delete the message, but it's, you know, it's information conveyed to you, because you can see what they wanted to type, and then they get unsure about writing that, so they retype
that's
it.
very relatable.
Yeah,
That's very relatable.
it was so fucking relatable. And, like, he was writing something, and then I was like, oh no, don't send that. He's going to take that the wrong way, please. And then he deleted it, and it was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cute, man. It's really, really good. And Olivia Colman is in it, the greatest actress of all time.
Who?
Olivia Colman.
Who's she?
Olivia Colman.
Hmm?
She's
is she in like a Marvel movie?
Just
Have I seen
repeating
her?
her name is not going to help.
Have I seen her in a Marvel movie?
I'm trying to think.
Is she in a Marvel movie? Fuck you.
I'm trying to think of the dumbest movie she has done, so I can relate it to you. But it's hard.
She was in The Lost Daughter, The Crown, The Father.
Yes. Oh yeah, she was in The Father. That's clearly a movie for you.
Peep Show.
In The Crown,
Fleabag.
she plays one of the
haven't seen
queens.
The
I don't know.
Crown.
I haven't seen that yet.
God damn it! What did you say her name was?
Olivia Colman.
Coleman.
She's amazing.
Oh, she was in Hot Fuzz.
Oh, was she?
Apparently.
Huh.
I think she's one of the the only female officer.
Oh, that's right. That's where I know this face from. I was like, I'm
There
looking
you
at her and
go.
I'm like,
We found
Who
it.
is
Must
We
have been
found the
a
one.
really small role, but yeah.
yeah.
She's the best at playing completely normal people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a normal face. You know what actors I like?
Fuck you.
Is Angela Lansbury. Did you ever see Bet Knobs and Broomsticks?
No.
It's a really good movie. I watched it a lot as a kid. On VHS. It's like Mary Poppins, but it's better.
No.
Oh. Angela
But yeah,
Lansbury is still alive, by the way.
Okay. I didn't even know she existed before you just told me.
You will Google her and you'll be like, oh, I know her.
Probably.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway, watch Heartstopper. It's one of the coolest shows I've seen in a long time.
Okay.
Unless you think cute romance shows are cringe.
I think that.
No.
Romance, more like bromance. Hey,
Yeah.
this is a question to the gay listeners, all of you. Bros before hoes, does that translate to like gay dating? Because I would imagine that if you're dating a guy, then can you be a gay hoe?
Yes, you can. You can be a man hoe.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe. I'm learning.
I think it's more about
Yeah.
friendship over...
Yeah, but the
Fling.
phrasing. Isn't it like,
Oh,
wouldn't they go
wow.
like dicks
And-
before chicks or something like that?
It's just the phrasing is because of our heteronormative society. They didn't invent it for the gay community,
That's true. But
but
I mean,
it
I still
should
think it
probably still apply because
It
the
does.
point of the saying is to put your friends first.
Yeah.
How about like I'm trying to think of like a different saying. None is coming. I was gonna say friends before rear ends, but I don't know about that. I don't know about that one.
No.
That's awful.
No, but
Shame on you.
no, but that's like gender and sexual neutral. That applies to everyone. Well, if you're a guy, at least. Hey, Daniel, what have you been doing?
This and that and the other.
All right. You have 5 minutes, by the way.
Sure, whatever. I'm not going to listen to you. So the Stanley Parable has come back with an ultra deluxe re-release. Have either of you played Stanley Parable?
I tried, and it was too scary.
What? Wait, what?
I got kind of nervous because the rooms kept rearranging, and they were like sometimes those happened like minor jump scares, and then I couldn't deal with it. Like the lack of music and anything else made me really uncomfortable.
What the fuck?
You know what
That's
I'm,
really weird
you know what
to
I'm
hear
saying?
because Stanley Parable is not a scary game.
I know.
No, but
it's,
Vulcan is a scaredy cat. We know this.
Yeah. And
That's so
like, you
weird.
can't tell me that it's not a bit like
Yeah, it's moody. It's like Portal.
The absence of atmosphere in that game makes it more atmospheric to me, because I don't know what to expect, and there's just mostly silence and sounds of just you being in the room. And then sometimes
there's
the
also
narrator.
the narrator.
Yeah, but he's not
narrator's
always
talking.
there. You just move through the building, through empty rooms, and you don't know what the fuck is going on. And shit keeps rearranging, and it's just...
It doesn't
it's the setup of a
rearrange
horror
as
game.
much. It doesn't rearrange as much as you think.
But it happens. And then sometimes,
Occasionally.
it's that kind of game where you just walk past an invisible trigger, and then something in the room happens, right? It's very linear in that way. And that I hate that because it makes me feel at the mercy of the developers, which is why I hate Bloober Team games, for example.
Well, that's at least with Stanley Parable. That's kind of the point where.
Yeah, sure, sure, I know.
Because I wouldn't say the whole point of video games is giving the players freedom to do what they want, but I do think that is a big element of games for a lot of people, and I think the Stanley Parable kind of puts a spotlight on the fact that you don't have as much control in these games as you think you do.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Stanley Parable, I think that's like, if Dear Esther was like a good game, you would get the Stanley Parable, because they both begin as sort of, aren't they both Half-Life mods originally? Half-Life
Stanley
2
Parable,
mods?
yes. I don't know about Dear Esther.
I'm pretty sure Dear Esther was a Source Engine mod.
It might have been. I don't know.
But yeah, I feel like there's so much more craft to the Stanley Parable.
I have never played Dear Esther, so I don't know, but I will agree that the Stanley Parable is a very well crafted experience. I don't think I appreciated it as much the first time I played it, but replaying it again in the Ultra Deluxe version has really made me it has increased my appreciation of the game a lot.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
good.
you're going to say something, Acer?
No?
No, I was going to say,
Okay.
Isn't Dear Esther just you walking along a sort of linear path and someone reads poetry to you?
Yeah. Yeah, but
kinda,
you can't run, you can't jump, you can't do anything. You just walk, and the poetry, like the narration reads, and you can't get to the next area until the reading is done. So it's like, there is none of the, like, why is this a video game at this point? Why is this not just do a video of, like, a beach somewhere where you read your poetry? What is this? This is not a video game.
It might as well be a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, it is,
that kind of makes
it's like
me
the
want to try it just to
quintessential,
see.
it's the quintessential sort of walking simulator.
Well, it was also one of the first.
Yeah, and it's terrible.
It was.
It was terrible back then, too. I hated it back then.
A lot of people don't like it, which
a
makes
lot
me
of
want to
people-
try it even
a
more
lot
just
of
to see
people-
what the deal is.
A lot of people loved it when it came out for like a week. I was not one of them. I was on the right side of history immediately.
You have to see that back then, I mean, when was that, 2013 or something? People were still wowed by the idea of just having a game where you don't kill people.
I don't care. It still sucked.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just, you kind of need that for context.
You don't need that for context, everyone. Bogan is wrong.
But yeah, so I was not a huge fan of the original Stanley Parable, like I said, but I was like, I want to play it again, because I am a big fan of The Beginner's Guide, which is another game by the same creator. I really, really love The Beginner's Guide. I made a video about it some time ago.
I didn't know that was the same team.
I don't know if it's the same team, but it's the same writer.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I might have played The Beginner's Guide and not Stanley Parable.
Maybe, because the Stanley Parable is it's a very funny game. It's a very comical game. So you saying that like it's really scary to you was like kind of like,
it wasn't
I don't
really
know.
scary. It was just uncomfortable to play.
Yeah, I can see that being more. I can see that more in the Beginner's Guide than Stanley Parable.
Yes.
Is The Beginner's Guide, is that takes place in basically an empty office building?
No, that's
Stanley Parable. The Beginner's Guide is the one where the guy is like completing his friend's game, and then it's not, right?
Something like that. So
Yeah.
The beginner's guide is about the writer Davey Reedon acts as himself as a character in the story, which makes it kind of weird and meta, but he's basically created this narrative that he had a friend named Coda, and that the beginner's guide is a collection of Coda's games. And as you play through Coda's games, he offers commentary and gives insight on what Coda was like as a person, how they met, what their relationship was like, what Coda was doing in his life as he was making these games, how he was doing personally, and he gives some. This insight kind of gives you an idea of why certain games turned out the way they did. Like Coda was like in a really happy spot in his life, so that's why this game was a lot more approachable. It was more something that was easier to play through, while some games later on, when he was in a darker space, are much more baroque, much more harsh, and there's a lot more to it. I don't want to have to go through the whole thing, but yeah, basically that game is a lot more serious, while the Stanley Parable is mostly played for laughs. A lot of the game is very humorous, and it's like poking fun at video game narratives, and not even just like narrative tropes, but just the idea of the player's role in how video game narratives play out and the choices that players can make. Because again, a lot of games kind of give players the illusion that they have a lot of choice in what they can do. And the Stanley Parable kind of plays around with that and shows that the player doesn't have nearly as much freedom as they'd like to think that they do when they're making choices in games. And a lot of it's just very humorous. So yeah, if you like the original, Ultra Deluxe is more of the same. It has like 60% more content.
Oh, that's cool.
Than the original. So yeah, it's good stuff. I recommend it.
I like this is like a very niche thing, but it's kind of related to these two games and Portal. I like games where like you're presented with a path, and the moment you kind of stray away from the path, you begin to notice this sort of scary world that exists sort of in the fringes of that world. Like the Ratman story in Portal 1 and 2? Is it? I don't know if it's both. But I really like that.
Interestingly, Stanley Parable is made in the Source engine, similar to Portal.
Yeah, because we talked about it. It's a Half-Life mod first.
It originated as a Half-Life mod, and then it got remade. But still using the Source engine, just not as a mod.
Interesting that they got the license for that, or that they licensed it, rather than going to like Unity or Unreal.
Yeah, I actually saw footage of the original Stanley Parable as a Half-Life mod, and it is really interesting to see how the game changed. In the game, in the final version of the Stanley Parable, they actually poked fun at that. There's one of the endings in the game where you find the original Half-Life mod version of the game, but it's like abandoned.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. So aside from Stanley Parable, I've been watching videos on a game called Yume Nikki. I haven't actually played it myself. I've just been watching videos, and the reason is because, first off, do either of you know what Yume Nikki is?
No.
I think it's a really fucked up Japanese game, but
it's sort of. It's not that fucked up.
No, I don't really
Kinda.
know.
Okay, so Yume Nikki, first and foremost, it translates to Dream Diary. And the game is a 2004 indie game made by a mystery Japanese person who goes by Kikiyama. To this day, we don't know who Kikiyama is. Male, female, or whatever, we know nothing. But Yume Nikki was this game made by this person. and it's like one of the first like real indie games. It came out even before Cave Story, and it's hugely influential. A lot, and I mean a lot of indie games that have come out over the years were inspired by Yume Nikki. Undertale, Lisa, Omori, just a bunch of these games were all inspired by Yume Nikki. Now, the way that the game plays, and this is why I don't really have a desire to play it myself, is that you simply, there's no dialogue, there's no explicit goals. You simply play as this girl walking around her dreamscapes, and that's it. That's the whole game.
Yay.
But
It's kind of like...
Oh, wait a
No.
minute. I think I know what this game is. Let me just do a quick Google.
Okay, there's no story. There's no dialogue.
Yume
You are
Nikki.
literally just playing as a girl who goes to sleep, and then she goes through her dreams, and her dreams have a bunch of weird shit going on.
Okay.
The only like real quote unquote story going on is whatever, like all the different imagery that you see. It's you can interpret it as being manifestations of Madatsuki, that's the main character, of her anxieties, maybe her depression. You can maybe extrapolate certain things as maybe something happened to her. Maybe she simply has a fear of being stalked, or maybe she was stalked. There's some sexual imagery, so maybe she feels a certain way about it, or maybe something happened to her. The game doesn't explicitly tell you anything. You just see this strange imagery, and you're just supposed to come to your own conclusions about what it means.
Weak.
La-di-da.
La-di-da.
Oh, you bring your own interpretation, dude.
Oh, wow.
What
Excuse
does-
this game
fucking-
What does it mean to
trying-
you?
Fucking this bloody guy. Oh, the Bibi and Tina. You have to look at like the socio-political. You have to look at it through a fucking political lens. You don't have a leg to stand on. I do, because I've been complaining about like exactly this in indie games, where it's always
You've
about
been
trauma.
anti-intellectualism from the start.
Yeah, exactly. It's always about trauma. It's always like depression or anxiety or something like that. How about a game?
Well, you have this game to blame.
Yeah, well, I think it's because of Silent Hill 2. To be fair.
Yeah, okay. You're probably right, but I think that this game also played a huge part in that.
Sure. I think Silent Hill 2 probably played a much bigger part, but this didn't help.
Sure.
This feels to me like an LSD emulator.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that. It is in a similar vein to LSD Dream Simulator, yes.
Have you played that?
I've never played it, but I know of it.
I've played it. It's not a game you play twice because there is literally nothing going on. Like, it's too abstract and it's too crazy. It's too weird that you, oh yeah, you can read this into it. I don't want to read anything into anything. Subtext is for cowards.
I would say Yume Nikki isn't quite as bad as LSD in that respect. There is at least something for you to hold on to,
Okay.
and you can, because LSD, it's you don't even know who you are.
That's true.
Right?
That's
Like
true.
you are just in first person, and you're just looking at strange imagery. At least with Yume Nikki, you're very clearly playing as this girl, and a lot of the imagery, you could very feasibly connect it to her in some way. Because like the whole like when you start the game, you're in the real world, and you have to go to sleep. And when you go to sleep, that's when you can explore these dream worlds. So there is much more of a connective tissue there for you to work with and make more tangible and concrete. Like, okay, she's obviously a little girl. She's having these crazy dreams about hands and eyes, and like this stuff is clearly relating to her in some way.
Okay, that's better than LSD Dream Simulator then. That game, that must have like, there's probably a community of like 300 people who play that game religiously, LSD Dream Simulator, And they probably have a bunch of crazy theories.
Another thing, so this game, Yume Nikki, even though it's very aimless and doesn't have like an explicit story, it does have an ending. So I'm gonna spoilers for this game that came out in 2004. I don't think the ending spoils the experience because I think it's one of those the journey, not the destination type games, but whatever. So as you explore these dream worlds, you can pick up stuff I think called artifacts or effects or something like that, and each of them do different things. Most of them it doesn't really do much. It's mostly just it just changes how the girl looks. But some of them have actual practical effects, like a bicycle, so you can ride around faster, or a knife, so you can like kill certain NPCs, even though there's not much of a combat system. Anyways, the point is, after you collect all of these, you can drop them in like the Nexus area that connects to all the different dream areas. After you do this, and you go back to the real world, you can exit her room, and there's a balcony, and all of a sudden there's some steps now that wasn't there before, and the main character will kill herself, and that's the ending. The ending is her jumping off. There's a black screen, and then there's a puddle of blood, and then credits. So there's also a lot to read into there as well, I would say.
Indie developers must be stopped.
To be fair, at that point they just started.
Yeah, this is 2004, dude.
Fine. I don't know. I like a game that's just like about stuff, where it's not like, I don't know. Stop trying to be art. When you try to be art, no.
I forbid you.
No, stop.
No, here's the thing. When you
you need to stop.
When you try to be art, it stops being like art, and it starts being like it becomes like pretentious. It has to be like an earnestness to it.
This is not pretentious.
This feels super pretentious. Like,
no, it's not.
It ends, and she commits suicide, and you have to read everything into it. I'm not reading anything into it.
Okay, you don't have to. But like, I don't see how this game is pretentious.
It has those vibes.
Nah, you're wrong.
And not really. I mean, pretentious is kind of a difficult word to pin down. I've once heard it described as being not as deep as it thinks it is, or as it portrays itself as it is.
Pretending.
That's sort of the definition of pretentiousness. And this game doesn't sound like it portrays itself as deep. Doesn't really seem to portray itself as anything.
It just kind of is. I think it's a fascinating game, and I think it's worth at least, maybe not necessarily playing, although it is for free on Steam at the very least, if you want to check it out. But at the very least, I will recommend watch some videos on it from people that have like an emotional connection to it, because it will really give you a good idea as to all the stuff that it went on to inspire, and it'll also give you a really good idea of like, you know, what it is about this game that, you know, why so many people were affected by it and why it meant so much to them.
I suppose I should be kinder to this because, again, it is 2004, so I suppose I shouldn't be bringing my 2022 sensibilities back. Oh crap.
I mean, regardless of what year it is, though, I think it's an interesting title for what it did. I mean, this person had the foresight to turn RPG, like an RPG Maker engine game, and didn't make it an RPG. You know, and they said, we're like, no, I want to do something else. And they just did their own thing, and I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, Acer.
Oh yeah.
Why One Piece?
Bogan and I, we like One Piece. Famously, some people would say we're the king of One Piece, Bogan.
The king of One Piece.
Kings of One Piece. It's you and me.
There can only be one. You should know this.
There can be more than
Peace.
one kings.
But there can only be one king of pirates.
I don't think that's true.
I think so. Well, actually, we don't know. We don't know what the One Piece is.
I know
No.
what the One Piece is.
It's friendship.
You know, Daniel, Oda has actually gone on record stating it's not friendship.
Did he?
Yeah, he was in. There was some interview where he was asked like, is it like a metaphor or something? And he was like, no. It is an actual thing. So, but the thing is, I don't know.
Is the One Piece the friends we made along the way?
Along the way.
Yeah. I've heard a pretty interesting theory that the One Piece is sake. Because it is because sake, it's like every time you have Shanks and Whitebeard and they drink sake together, and Ace, Sabo, and Luffy drink sake together to become brothers, and the Straw Hat crew, they all drink sake together to become like a family. So like that the One Piece, it's just sake. It's just like this drink that sort of breaks down social barriers and allows you to become one with somebody else. So like it is friendship. It is like unity. Because you also have that Mihawk line from the war where he looked at Luffy and he was like, that kid has the power to bring people to his side, and he's like unstoppable because of that. So like the One Piece, it is just the ability to sort of unite the world, and it's manifested as sake, but I don't know. I want something better.
I don't know.
I'm
Not sure about that.
I want the One Piece to be like a giant diamond. Just like the most boring thing in the world.
Okay, hold on. You probably read into it too, but I know you don't watch the anime and you don't read the manga. Like you only watch the anime dubbed, which means you are pretty much behind where the manga and the anime are. And I mean the anime is behind the manga also, but whatever. They have actually shown Roger and his crew reach the island where the One Piece is supposed to be.
Ah.
But that didn't really show what the One Piece actually is. It just revealed something about the name of the island, and I don't know if you know this or not, because then I'm not going to talk about it.
I think I know. It's like.
Actually, maybe we still shouldn't talk about it then. But
yeah, sure.
I find it interesting that just in episode 900 something, suddenly we're getting this flashback to this hugely important event. It's wild how long this has been going on, and there's still stuff about the world happening, and there's still shit we don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah, like
what? But it feels like we are working towards something. And
what the hell happened in the lost time? Like there's the lost century. Like why? I want to know that. And here's the thing: if he doesn't deliver, if he goes like, if this show or like the manga, if he just farts out a lousy ending, man, am I gonna be pissed.
Maybe. I think the final fight is gonna be against Blackbeard. That's gonna be epic.
Do you think it's gonna be Blackbeard, or do you think it's gonna be Akainu?
I think it's gonna be Blackbeard.
You think it's Blackbeard? Okay.
Yeah. I think the Navy might join in against Blackbeard.
Ooh. You and I both love Blackbeard for the same reason, where you just, like, Oda began by just establishing this world, and it's very thoroughly internally realized, and then, like, the bad guy, he's just somebody who, like, notices the rules of the world, and he just manipulates them. Like, he's just a guy with his own ambitions and his own plans.
Yeah.
I love that. It's not like...
He's competent about it.
Yeah, he's really good. And he has, like... do we know why he can have 2 devil fruit powers? Like, they've hinted that there's something strange about his body.
No, I think it's the first power he got, which can absorb devil fruit powers, and I think he manipulated it to a way where he can now have 2. He basically absorbed the second one and can use it now. Surely I might be wrong on that. It's been a while, but I think like the whole thing about Blackbeard is that he was in Whitebeard's crew.
Yeah.
As basically a nobody, like just some second lieutenant or whatever. And he was just waiting for the chance to get this specific fruit because he thinks it's the strongest fruit that exists because it can nullify powers. Yeah. And so he has been just working behind the scenes to get this fruit. And then he's been working behind the scenes to use this fruit to absorb basically the second strongest fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why he's cool.
And he wants to get the One Piece because he's the anti-Luffy. He also wants to be king of the pirates. But he's way smarter than you, Luffy. I have a lot of time for Blackbeard. I think he's like a lot of people like really don't like him in like the fan community. I don't. Yeah, because he's kind of like just like a scumbag, and he's kind of like, you look at like Kaido. Kaido's like big and muscular and intimidating. I'm not interested in that. I like a scheming dirtbag, and I think Blackbeard is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't really get the sense that he just does it for material wealth either.
Oh no,
like
I think
a Doflamingo would.
Yeah, I think Blackbeard, there's some like hidden backstory we're gonna learn. What if he's actually Gold Roger all along?
No, they can't do that. You know what's one of my favorite scenes that I keep thinking back to is when they meet Silver Rayleigh, and they ask him, like, did you really travel with Gold Roger? And do you know where the One Piece is? And then Rayleigh is like, yeah, I know, and I could tell you right now. And then Lissop is about to poke him to tell them the location, and then Luffy fucking screams at Lissop to shut the fuck up because he needs to find it for himself. It's just like this whole fucking journey is pointless if you just tell us what it is.
Yeah.
And Luffy fucking loses it. I love that.
Do you think Shanks, was Shanks with them when they found the One Piece?
Sorry, what?
Was Shanks with the Gold Roger crew when they found the One Piece?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. I love.
Or was he? Hold on. He was in the crew of Gold Roger together with Buggy. I think they might have gotten off the ship before that. I'm not sure anymore.
All right. I love Buggy because he's kind of like, he's just such a, like, I love that there's just this guy who was just in the right place at the right time, and he just accidentally sort of fell ass backwards into being like this giant presence in the world, and he's just a bitter like idiot.
He's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's also it. He is funny. Like he is a clown, but he's also like, just his interactions with everybody are funny because he's so like self-centered and he's so vain. It's so fun. Let's see, what else do I want to say about One Piece?
How far in is the show? Or how fine are you?
They just the dub just concluded on, I believe they got off that giant elephant island.
Okay.
I think they're going into like Wano, am I right?
No, I think there should be Whole Cake Island first, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
Like they're gonna go to Big Mom's place
to rescue Sanji.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's gonna happen.
I like that. I don't know how the community feels about it. I liked Whole Cake Island.
You know, is there a better like villain we've gotten so far? Like, I think Blackbeard has a lot of potential to be the best, but I think Doflamingo is the best. Have we gotten like a better one as like the main villain of an arc?
I have to rewatch Dressrosa. I don't remember Doflamingo that well. I just like him as a visual, as a character.
I think the thing about him is he combines all the best aspects of all the previous villains. We're like, Crocodile had this plan to conquer a country. Okay, Doflamingo had that too, but he was successful. Anaru had this insane god complex. Okay, Doflamingo has that too. Gecko Moria, he was utilizing like a devil fruit to sort of take over the minds of these people and create like slaves. Doflamingo does that too. It's like just all these best parts, the most interesting parts of the other villains have just sort of been squashed into this other villain.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I also like, I like a schemer, and Doflamingo is a schemer, but I also like a guy who's just like, the reason Doflamingo is evil, it's not because like a terrible wrong was done to him, it's just that he believes that he deserves to be worshipped because of the bloodline he belongs to, and gosh darn it, he's going to get what he wants. It's just like, oh, there is nothing to redeem. You're just evil. You're just a bad guy. It's...
Yeah, you need that sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same with Blackbeard, right? You don't need him to have a trauma.
Yeah.
Just need him to be an asshole.
Yeah. I'm really interested to know more about, like, because Akainu, he's apparently working with, like, the Big Five or something, and then there's this other character who's, like, in charge of the world government, but who's not, like, the fleet admiral, and it's just, like, I want to know what actually, like, what is going on behind the scenes of, like, the military and all that. Like, this...
Wait, who is in charge? Aren't they the Elder Council in charge?
No, there's some other guy in charge. Like, the Elder Council are in charge, but then there's someone even above them.
But we haven't seen that character yet.
I think he's been animated.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but anyways.
I only know there's another hidden Navy admiral. I think it's called Green Bull, and he was in one scene, but he was kind of in the shadows.
Do we know what he can do?
No.
I love the gravity guy.
Yeah.
I think, like, that's, like, a great sort of One Piece character where, like, he didn't want to see the injustice and evil of the world, so he just scarred out his own eyes. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, that's interesting. And then they actually, like, deliver on that sort of goofy premise. I don't know, man. I think it's kind of sad that One Piece, the anime is really dragged out. I think this anime, easily 2/3 of it could be removed, and you'd have a much tighter, much better sort of flowing show. It'd be much easier to recommend it to people. But because it's really, really bloated, it's very hard to get anybody new on board with it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you either have the will to get through all that or not.
Yeah.
And I certainly do not.
You don't know what you're talking about. You should watch it, all of it, before the next episode. Give 2 weeks.
Nah.
You're like, people who don't watch One Piece are genuinely missing out. And I understand that it's just borderline impossible to get into, but it's legitimately the best ongoing show. I don't think anything else even comes close.
Ooh. I think One Piece is much better as a manga than it is an anime.
Well, I think anime is better than manga in general. Now all the hot takes are coming out.
Yeah, Daniel, bring
I
me a
like
hot
music
take.
and animation and voice acting and colors. Okay, that's what I like.
Didn't you also like hentai? Didn't you have a giant rant once about how much you love hentai? Daniel, you give me a hot take.
No, that was definitely you. I would never say such a thing.
Never.
Anyways, I don't want to talk about One Piece ever again on this podcast.
What's your favorite power?
Woo.
And what's the strongest power?
Okay, my favorite power is either Anaru's power or Doflamingo's power. I like Anaru's power because it's very visually cool, because he's just like a lightning and he's there. But Doflamingo's power, this is like, you see it in Hellsing Ultimate too. This is like a great One Piece power because it sucks ass unless you know what to do with it. It's like Toad.
How does it suck ass? You can control people.
Yeah, but here's the thing. No. Here's the thing. He actually, like, his power is not to control people. His power is just he can make strings.
But
because he's smart and he, like, actually experiments with the power, oh, he realizes that he can control people and he can do all those things. It's like Toad in the X-Men movies where he has a shit power, but he's learned to use it really, really smartly. So, I think Doflamingo, like I said, one of my favorite powers. As for which power is the strongest, that's kind of like hard to really quantify because there's always some power which nullifies another power. Like if you could like Blackbeard's power, the darkness fruit, that's cool. But there's probably a fruit that can, like there's a power Hancock has where she can like turn you into stone from range.
Yeah.
Yeah, he do
power.
shit about that?
Yeah, he can probably nullify the effect. The drawback of Blackbeard's power is that he just takes increased physical damage. But he's such a buff fatso that he can kind of take it anyway.
But like Gravity Man, he could probably just drop a meteor on top of Blackbeard. And even if Blackbeard somehow manages to survive, like the crater is just gonna flood with ocean. And that's gonna drown him. So like you can always outsmart the opponent somehow.
Yeah.
Which is the best power? Like the most powerful one? I really like Whitebeard's power. That's probably like the strongest one just in terms of damage you can do.
Yeah, probably.
What's your favorite?
I think my favorite is Mako, the Phoenix. I just like that. It lets you fly and be invincible, basically. And I think that's cool as fuck.
What do you think is the strongest power?
And I think the strongest would be probably Kizaru. I mean, you can move at light speed.
That is true. He would probably...
And he can make massive explosions anyway. It's fucking crazy.
Isn't his problem that he's just really, really bad at using this power?
He's just lazy.
Yeah.
He's good about it. He just needs motivation, and he barely has one.
Yeah, that's a really powerful power, actually. I like that in the war, Whitebeard, like, he traded blows with all the admirals. I really like that. I also think it sucks so much that Akainu... I don't think Akainu should have, like, just been able to walk away from the beating Whitebeard gave him. I feel like he should have, like, a cane, and he should, like, have to walk with a cane after that. Like, some lingering damage.
Fight. There's probably a fight between Akainu and Luffy coming.
Yeah.
As riveting as this one.
You can just go to the damn restroom. You're not contributing anyways.
We can stop. It's
Shut
fine.
the fuck up.
Look,
No,
this is going on for a long time anyway. We now have a new Final Fantasy 14. It's called One Piece, and we're going to talk about it every episode. Thank you for coming.
We're gonna go on our break, and then we'll come back with Batman Begins.
Bye.
I need to go.
Why are you saying bye?
Right. Why am I saying bye?
I'm not editing that out.
We're back, everyone, and we're here to talk about some Batman.
Why do we do these intermissions?
Because of Acer.
Hey, why do we do these intermissions? I've had this axe to grind for a few weeks now.
Because some of us need to take a shit.
Sure, but why don't we just cut that section out? Why do we have a 30-second little music or whatever, however long it is?
Well, when you edit it, you can just make it 2 seconds. I personally believe that the Persona 5 music needs to be represented in a podcast.
Hey, that music is really nice.
Okay. I'm gonna do something with the edit.
I personally think that it's... I mean, if the people in the comments don't agree, then let us know. But I like when there's just this little bit of actual, just a break before a new topic.
Okay.
It's just... when there's a very clear gap between 2 topics, just so that you can mentally reset. I think that helps.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it just acts as a nice...
sort of buffer.
Clear division between the 2 halves of the podcast. We have the first half where we're just kind of BSing about stuff that we've been doing, and then we have this other half of the podcast where we, talk about a specific topic in detail. And it's nice to just have that clear delineation between the two.
Okay. I retract my complaint. But if the commenters take my side, there's gonna be changes. Batman Begins, boys.
There's gonna be some changes around here.
There's gonna be some changes in this town, boys. This town ain't big enough for the three of us.
Batman Begins.
So Acer, you wanted us to rewatch Batman Begins. Did you rewatch it yourself?
Okay, I didn't rewatch it. I've watched this movie 100 times. I know it like the back of my hand. I made the bold proclamation that this is the best live action Batman movie. I think I'm right. I don't think I've been proven wrong. And I don't think I'm going to be proven wrong by this conversation, so I don't even know why I'm here. To defend my bullshit.
I like how you already have taken like a side in the debate. Even though we haven't even started.
You've planted your flag and you're staying there.
Yeah, I'm cementing this as a hostile conversation from the get-go. No, I really like this movie. The
trenches are already dug.
Before we start talking about it, I want to, a few things that I really like about it. And I think these are something, we probably may disagree on, whether, how much we like it. But just from the get-go, I think this is easily the most accessible Batman movie. Just if you know nothing about the character, this one, gets you up to speed on everything. And it asks you to buy less than all the other movies do. So you can just put it on, know nothing, and you get it. I think no Batman movie does as much with a character as this one does, which is, Bruce Wayne is very, he's not very represented in most Batman movies. They are very much about the villains. He was in the Pattinson Batman movie. We did get more sort of Bruce Wayne action, but I think it's kind of, I like a bit more of a mature Bruce Wayne. I felt like that one was a bit sort of still young and angry. I love the casting. I think they got every single casting choice right. I love that characterization of Gotham we get, especially in the Narrows. It does kind of turn into Chicago in the sequels, but I love that. I am not over the idea of you bring this fantasy comic book story to the real world, and what does that look like? I love in Iron Man 1 when he's building the suit, and I love when Batman is assembling his gadgets. So those are just some things I want to talk about in positives, because I think you two are going to bring out the pitchforks. You guys haven't told me what you think about the movie. What did you think about the movie?
Boken, go ahead.
I mean, I liked it. I
agrees.
do not agree it's the best Batman movie.
Okay.
And
live action.
I would not even agree it's better than the Batman. But the positives you mentioned, I would actually totally agree.
Okay.
I have some negatives as well. But I would especially agree on the character stuff, which there were a lot of details and setups to aspects of Bruce Wayne's personality that were fairly well written. Fairly well implemented. And just in general, up until the last 20 minutes, I think this is a really solid script for a superhero movie.
Is the biggest problem with the movie that the action is really bad?
I think the biggest problem is the last 20 minutes, but the action is actually really bad, yes.
Okay.
The action is quite bad, yes.
Except, and I can't believe I'm saying this, the car chase, which is usually the part that I hate the most, and it's the most exciting sequence in the entire fucking movie.
No, yeah, I agree. The car chase was great. I think, I'll put it like this. I think any action sequence that has nothing to do with hand-to-hand combat is good.
Yes.
Yeah. I like when they're fighting on the glacier, and they're sword fighting and using those wrist guards.
That was pretty good.
That was a good fight, yes.
Okay.
That whole section that whole section was filmed in Iceland. All of that training stuff, that's all filmed in Iceland. Even though it's supposed to take place in Tibet or somewhere.
Before we get too far into the specifics of the movie, I wanted to clarify my stance in the movie, which was before I rewatched it last night.
Okay.
My opinion on the movie was like, it's okay. Rewatching the movie, the stuff that I didn't appreciate as much about it, I appreciate more, but the stuff I didn't like about it, I dislike even less, and I feel like I have encountered new issues with the movie. So I feel like it still kind of cancels out, and my opinion hasn't really changed. It's just kind of shifted.
All right. Wow, 3 opinions on Batman Begins. But which one is the right one? Let's find out together, everyone. Bogan, the last 20 minutes. Are you going to complain about the microwave emitter?
Why are we going to talk about the last 20 minutes?
Are you going to complain about the microwave emitter? I swear to God.
No.
Okay.
That's actually an aspect I liked.
Okay. Because people...
Okay, because I'm kind of confused as to why you hate the last 20 minutes so much.
Okay. I don't think we should start there still.
Okay. Where do you want to start?
Okay, so we all agree the action is shit. Because it was kind of funny to me when I like to take notes, as we've established. And when I started watching this and the first fight scene happened in the prison with the inmates, and I wrote down, wow, the editing in the first fight.
It's bad.
It was bad. And then halfway through the movie, I took that note and I added, oh, actually, all of them are bad.
I will say...
because it kept happening.
I think we should maybe fix that a bit. I think the action is only bad when it's hand-to-hand combat. But like we said with the car chase, like with the scene where he jumps down the stairs with the bats, like that's also an action scene. It's not a fighting scene. Action is good except when they're like actually doing fisticuffs.
Yes, but that is most of the action. There are like little things, for example, when he rescues Ra's al Ghul's life at that, that glacier or whatever it is. That was exciting because it looked so physical how he just was barely holding onto his hand and then actually pulled him up with one arm and shit. That's also action, and it was really well done.
Yeah, that stuff was good. I would also say like the beginning of the movie with the ninja training, I liked that stuff. I thought it was neat, and I think it's just predicated simply on the fact that it's ninjas.
Yeah.
Ninjas are fucking cool. There's no getting around that. So that part of the movie is automatically cool. And it's done well.
And it was a cool just way to portray his backstory. Like to kind of explain his fighting abilities.
Yes.
And also his fighing ways.
And also his stealth.
Yeah. You know what was really funny to me in that sequence is when the ninjas just stand there and he is trying to find Liam Neeson, who is hiding.
Yeah, Raj.
Raz. And then I think at that point he's just too caught. And
yes,
like they all have the same outfit, but it's all white guys standing there in the middle of Tibet because it's 2 white guys trying to find each other. And they had it would make sense if they were like Asians standing there.
One thing I don't like about that scene is that Liam Neeson, like in real life, he's like almost 2 meters tall. He's a giant of a man. And the other guys just aren't. So it's really obvious which one he actually is. Also, when we're on the topic of Liam Neeson, I think he's incredibly well cast as Ra's al Ghul. I really like this characterization. This isn't like comic accurate, both because he's not actually immortal and also because comic Ra's al Ghul, I feel, he's a bit more sort of a Bond villain. He's a bit more sort of theatrical and bombastic. But I really like this play of Bruce Wayne as like, he's a man who loses his parents and he becomes lost. And then he meets this other man who he becomes his sort of surrogate father and he teaches him all these things. But then the conflict that arises with Ra's al Ghul is, well, you can be true to your father's dream for Gotham, or you can be true to your new father's dream for Gotham, but you can't do both. And so he chooses to honor his birth parents over Ra's al Ghul, or Henry Ducard as he thinks it is. I think that's a really interesting interesting spin on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also just the whole angle of how idealistic do you need to be about punishing criminals?
Yeah.
is there room for gray areas?
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, I think that whole stuff was well set up and well executed, with Alfred saying, "Oh, you still haven't given up on me." "No, never, sir, never."
Yeah.
That was that line, just like Bruce Wayne doesn't give up on Gotham. And all the other characters who just play their little parts to make him realize that.
Yeah.
As I said, it's a solid script.
Gary Oldman, I will say, is Gary Oldman or J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man movies. Either one of these is the best superhero casting choice ever done. Because J.K. Simmons perfectly captures that sort of cartoonish, crazy boss that J. Jonah Jameson is. Gary Oldman for Gordon, man, like the humanity in the eyes, and you see how tired he is, and he's like a good man in this shithole town.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gary Oldman's a fantastic actor, and
He
does a great job as Gordon.
I think he is as good as Gordon in these movies as Heath Ledger was as the Joker. But because the Joker is so much more like, it's a bigger character, he's more sort of flamboyant, it's very easy to not notice Gary Oldman's performance. But I think it's
a more
equally
show-offy role.
Yeah. But I think those are equally good performances.
Yeah.
And Michael Caine as Alfred, fantastic.
Oh, yeah. It's really interesting that he, because Alfred in the comics, he's like upper crust British, and Michael Caine is amazing, and he's the best, but he's Cockney, and he like has this sort of, he's much more lower class, but it just works. It really works. Because it's Michael Caine, and he's the most elegant man of all time.
No, yeah, no complaints about that. Just fantastic work. Not fantastic was Christian Bale. My bad. I didn't really particularly care for him as Batman.
Really? Okay.
But
okay.
did you see?
Is that
did you see
a
how?
hot take?
Did you see how buff he is?
I don't care.
Okay.
Why should I
Jeez.
care?
I don't know. Why not? So he was very buff. I noticed it in one scene.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
When he's
"God
in the
damn."
bed, he's in the bed and he drops down, does push-ups, whatever.
No, I wouldn't say he's bad in it.
No,
Some
not
of his delivery
bad.
was a bit wonky at times.
He looks like a goldfish.
He does have his mouth open a lot.
Like there are times where he's just like he has his mouth open, and I'm just like, "Do you want a treat?"
I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. I can see the performance not landing. I don't think you don't think it's a bad performance, do you? It's just more that it doesn't land, or
I didn't really buy him as Batman, and I don't know if that's necessarily his fault. I think part of it's also the suit.
yeah.
He just didn't look. He didn't look right in the suit.
I was gonna.
There were multiple
I was gonna
times
say
where I was looking
Batman
at him.
or
I'm
Bruce
just
Wayne.
like,
yeah.
I think he was a better Bruce Wayne than he was Batman.
I agree. I think he's like the problem with the Batman suits up until Dark Knight is that like famously they could never turn their necks. And
yes,
because the mask obfuscates so much of the face and like the expression of the mask, it's always like anger. It really limits your range of like your acting choices. And they did a really smart thing with the costume where if you look at the neck, and they've talked about this in the making of, the neck is really sort of muscular and like really big. And the idea is that he's supposed to be like a puma, like a black mountain lion cat that's just like ready to pounce at any moment. I think there's a real sort of physicality and a sense of danger whenever he stands still in the costume or is like crouching over somebody. But the moment he has to move, I think it always kind of just looks weird.
it does not.
I'm thinking,
look right,
especially in that scene where he's in Arkham Asylum and he's like throwing those bombs to open everything up. It just looks like a guy in a kind of crazy Halloween costume, you know?
It
It's not only that though, but like I don't like. There's that one scene where he's got the crooked cop and he's grappling him up and down.
Yeah.
and he's yelling at him. That scene seemed totally off to me. It didn't seem like a very Batman thing for him to just start yelling at him and be like, "Where are the drugs? Swear to me." It was so fucking weird.
I was waiting for him to yell, "I'm your god now."
Yeah. To me, Batman always seemed like someone that, no matter what, always keeps his cool. So for him to be yelling at this guy about the drugs just seemed really out of character, or at the very least, it strongly clashed against my image of what Batman is.
But you like Robert Pattinson's Batman. I think I don't think Robert Pattinson's Batman is any more measured than Christian Bale's is. Not that
I don't know. I guess you're right, but there's something about the way Christian Bale did it that really rubbed me the wrong way. I think it's because in that scene, it came across as comical to me. In that scene especially, like, I couldn't take it seriously.
Is it the framing?
Because
is it because
it's trying so... I think it's because in that scene, Batman is trying so hard to come across as menacing and scary and intimidating. And to me, I just found it hilarious.
Is it the framing?
And I didn't buy into
Hold on. I might have to rewatch
No, you hold on. I was going to interject first. Is it because the camera is right in his face and he's doing like these big shouty motions where if you like zoom out a bit, maybe it doesn't look as weird?
Maybe. That could be part of it.
Yeah. All right, Bogan?
I also give Robert Pattinson, his portrayal of Batman, a little bit more leeway because he's so young. And I know that in Batman Begins, this is also supposed to be an inexperienced Batman. But because Christian Bale himself visibly looks much older by comparison, I also don't fully buy that this is a fresh-faced Batman compared to Robert Pattinson.
I think that
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think the point of Robert Pattinson's character, and maybe I'm forgetting some scenes, but it's like he tries to be that cool person, but he's inexperienced and he's sometimes struggling to actually get it done, but he tries to be that. And like Bruce Wayne in this sometimes just decides to not be that, even though he has a lot more training.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay, I'm just looking at something right now. Okay, so Christian Bale is born in 74. Pattinson is born in 86. Which means Christian Bale is younger in this than Pattinson was in the Batman.
But it's not about the actor's age, it's about the character's experience.
I also think I think Christian Bale, he's kind of like Michael Fassbender, where he looks like a man in his 40s. There's just something about his face. He looks more mature than maybe he actually was.
You know, and that what's really funny about that is that there were certain scenes with him as Bruce Wayne, particularly when he was talking to Rachel in like a kitchen or something. He just looked so fucking awkward. Like it's like they tried to make him look really young, and it just didn't work. And he looked fucking terrible. He just looked so fucking goofy.
Yeah, they like matted down his hair and everything.
Sometimes he comes off as really dumb. Also, like the way he asks questions and stuff, I didn't get the vibe that he's particularly smart.
I think the dialogue in general in this movie is one of its weakest aspects.
Yeah.
Like, the dialogue is either perfectly normal and that everyone sounds like they're talking like normal human beings, and if they're not, it sounds like they're monologuing like pseudo philosophical, like philosophy 101 at each other. It's painful.
But Daniel, why do we fall?
Shut up. Like, at the very end of the movie, this is like the perfect encapsulation of what I'm talking about, except way worse. At the end of the fucking movie where Rachel is talking to Bruce, he's trying to explain to her, like, oh, Batman is just a symbol. She's like, no. This, and she touches his face. This is the mask. Batman is your real face. I could not fucking believe that they would say that.
But
I could not fucking believe that they actually...
But they also said that in Pattinson's Batman.
I don't remember them
The Riddler
saying
said that
Did
when
they?
he visits him in Arkham at the end. He's like, everybody wants to know who's under the mask, but you and I know better. This is your real face. He gives a
I think,
But
speech
the,
like that.
but the Riddler
think
is
in
a
that
weird
s-
psychopath. Rachel's not.
but I think in that scene, the difference is that the Riddler, he's not talking about Robert. He's not talking about Batman. He's talking about the two of them because he's trying to establish this connection because the Riddler thinks that he and Batman are on the same page. So he's trying to commiserate with him and he's trying to say like, see, you and I we're exactly the same. We're on the same page. We've been working together. You know, we've been creating this masterpiece together. You know, like you get me. While in Batman Begins, this comes across as more as like Rachel might as well have turned to the camera and explained, you see, audience, when Bruce Wayne is Batman, he's actually being his true self. Like it didn't come like in the Batman, it came across as the character trying to communicate with the other character, and in this case, it felt like the writer was trying to talk directly to the audience.
Okay. I got that same vibe. I don't like that scene, because I think comic books they did this in like the 70s. If you read the Dennis O'Neil or and the Neil Adams collaborations, that was kind of like a thing they explored, was like which is the real mask. That was in the 70s, and the comics have sort of just veered away from that because that's not nearly as interesting as like you think when you first stumble upon that question. Like how Bruce Wayne and Superman, their mothers are both named Martha, which is like, oh, that's interesting. Anyway, moving on. Except, no, we're not moving on. We're gonna make this a bigger deal than it really is.
Why did you say that name?
Martha.
Martha, why did you call me that, man?
One thing that I want to mention is that, like, we talked about Batman coming off weird in this movie. I just think he looks ridiculous. And having seen The Batman now, that movie is so much better at just hiding the costume in shadows and mood and atmosphere. And in this, it's always like it's often night and it's kind of dark, but for some reason the light was so contrasted that there was this one scene in particular where I think Commissioner Gordon is bringing out the trash or something, and just Batman shows up, sort of sitting on the stairs, or like
on the stairs,
or like the railing of the stairs, you know. And it was dark, it was night, but it was also so bright, and you can just see him lunging there. It just looked weird, like it looks ridiculous. It just looks
There's
stupid.
another scene where he does the same thing in like a subway with Rachel. And that also looked really but I think that's more so a problem with how Batman looks in the scene more than anything else.
I just wonder if the lighting was different. If it was more like in the Batman, it just wouldn't look as bad. Or maybe it's the costume, I don't know.
Well, for me, one of the problems I had was it felt like I was looking at two different cities. So occasionally we saw the dirty, the grungy, the grimy Gotham that we all know and love. And in other shots, it looked like, oh, this is downtown. Like I've driven there. You know, like it just looks like painfully normal. Like it just looks like any other city. Or, you know, as most people point out, like Pittsburgh or Chicago.
Yeah, and then you see the railway or the train that Bruce's father built, and it's like cartoonishly destroyed. Like it was the ugliest, most disgusting train I've ever seen from the inside.
It just felt like, to me, I felt like they were trying to get across this idea that Gotham has this huge class divide, right? Where you have like the rich and they live in the clean part of the city. You have the poor and they live in the dirty part of the city. But that wasn't what was conveyed to me as I watched the movie. It felt like it just randomly cut from one city that's really dirty and a totally different city that looks normal. It's not like, and this is a totally unfair comparison, but it's not like the movie Parasite, where it did a very good job of getting across like how the upper class lives, high up, and then the characters have to physically move down to like the dirty or grungy part of the city where everything looks like shit.
Yeah, but the lower side in Parasite doesn't look as disgusting as this, and the upper side doesn't look as crazy as like Bruce Wayne's mansion.
Sure. And again, not a fair comparison because Parasite is a much that's an Academy Award winning film for one, and two, it's also like a much more normal movie by comparison. Like at the end of the day, this is a Batman movie where you have a costumed weirdo going around punching people in the face.
Yeah.
I will say, in defense of a costumed weirdo punching people in the face, one of the biggest hurdles superhero movies have to cross if you want to make like the conflict believable is you have to actually sell the idea that an individual taking justice into his own hands is a better alternative to the prevailing system. I think this movie does that. I think we get enough world building that you can like you don't need to ask like the dumbest, most obnoxious like midwit question people always ask is,
why doesn't Bruce Wayne just give a bunch of money to the police and help them fight crime?
Well, the movie answers it because they're all corrupt. And it's just like every social institution in the city is corrupt and rotten. So the only thing you really can do is just use force and violence to get your way.
Yeah, and to be fair, they also explained that his dad also tried to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't. He tried through his company to try and help Gotham. He was making a concerted effort before he got killed to try and clean things up and to try and fix Gotham. And he really struggled. Like it wasn't easy for him to do what he wanted, and he died before he could, finish what he was trying to do.
Yeah. And also, like Commissioner Gordon, one of the last actually pure-hearted cops, has completely given up at the start of the movie. There was the scenes that I liked where he's just like, oh, I don't give a fuck, man. He just like his partner Floss or Flass or whatever he was called.
Yeah, Flass.
Comes out of the store having just probably like given money to Falcone or gotten money or like he did something shitty, and his partner just sits down in the car and he's like, oh, you just did that again, huh? Cool. And
Yeah.
It's not even a big deal. He's just so used to it.
The exchange they have is Gordon, he's like scolding him. He's like, you shouldn't do that, Flash. And Flash is like, us boys are getting worried about you, Jim. We're scared you're gonna rat us out. And then Gordon goes, I'm no rat. In a town this bad, who's there to rat to? And it's like,
just
that. Mwah.
That
was a good scene.
I was so
That's a good scene, yeah.
Like for a moment I was so confused because the corrupt cop is basically accusing the non-corrupt cop for not just doing what everyone else does and it making him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That is a crazy concept.
No, yeah, where like the person that's clean is the one that's suspicious.
Yeah. I like that.
No, yeah, that was one of the better scenes in the movie. I agree. Okay, so why do you hate the last 20 minutes? I'm curious.
Okay,
I
do not hate the plan by itself. Which is usually, I think, in superhero movies, just when you get to the motivations and I need this device to like do this widespread destruction or whatever. That usually is kind of dumb. But this microwave emitter makes sense to me. They set that up very early, that it's missing, and it wasn't even clear what it's for, but then it slowly gets revealed, that they're just going to vaporize all the water, which they have tainted earlier. All of that, fine. I just think, for one, maybe 3 parts. For one, I think the fear gas was very inconsistent in what it did, because sometimes it makes people really scared. On that stupid kid, Joffrey from Game of Thrones, coincidentally, it seemed to have like no big effect whatsoever. And then sometimes people affected by the fear gas attack Bruce Wayne like they're zombies for some reason, even though they should be running away. You know, like that whole...
I think the idea is that everyone has different fears and everyone has different reactions to their fears. So yeah, some people are going to attack their fears, some people are going to run away.
That's true, but a lot of people attacked him. And they even portrayed him from the eyes of those people, where he's like a scary bat figure with red eyes, and they attacked him like zombies. I don't think that makes sense at all. And it just these little things where I noticed, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Like when he's fighting Ra's al Ghul in that train, and he's having his body armor on that can potentially deflect bullets, but for some reason he's getting hit by his fists and getting really hurt. You know, that's just no. I think that's really, really dumb. And it would be cooler if Ra's al Ghul found a way to hurt him despite the armor. That would make for a better fight, and like it would make the character itself a cooler fighter, you know?
Should have taken his sword. Oh
yeah,
wait, he
whatever.
did take his sword. Batman broke it.
I love that scene where he breaks the sword. That you cannot tell me that's not awesome. Where he's like, you haven't learned any new tricks, have you? And he's like, how about this? And he just snaps his sword in half.
Yeah.
I will say I did like the way that they handled Ra's al Ghul's death, because it was pretty morally ambiguous, because like Batman was like, I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm not gonna save you either. He kind of did kill him, he just didn't do it directly.
He did kill him. He's basically accessory to murder. Because he made Commissioner Gordon just whatever he did, like destroy the what is it called?
The rails.
The rails, right?
Yeah.
He took out part of the rails.
And he also broke the brakes.
Yeah. And then, I'm not gonna kill you, but I basically created the scenario that will make sure you're gonna die. But I'm free of guilt for some reason, even though I don't kill people.
Yeah, but it also does bring to question the kind of like the gray area of like, well, Batman says he doesn't kill anyone, but that's not really true.
He doesn't say that in this movie. The Christopher Nolan...
Well, he said he wasn't... He said he wasn't going to be an executioner.
Yeah, sure. I think there's a difference between, like, I'm going to go and murder criminals and, well, obviously, Ra's, you're going to have to die because you're a crazy person. Right? Like, Pattinson is the only live-action Batman... Like, Pattinson and Clooney, they're the only live-action Batman who have never killed anyone.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Tim Burton movies, Batman, I think there's even a scene where Batman in the second one sticks a dynamite in someone's jacket or something and lets him blow up. It was something crazy.
Yeah, he throws them down like a sewer hole or something. And then there's one scene where he's in the car and he ignites the jet booster to go on, and he just burns some crazy goon outside, just burns him alive. The Burton movies...
So are you saying that the Batman in this just doesn't have that moral guidance?
I think he... See, because he doesn't, but the movie seems to establish that he should have it. Because like his issue with Raish's way of doing things was that, I'm willing to fight for justice, but we can't do it this way. Like, I can't become an executioner because that's how I lost my parents. And then at the end, when Raish is like, okay, you've defeated me, but at least you've learned what needs to be done. And then I agree with Daniel that it's sort of like, this is sort of like, it is kind of iffy because he shouldn't be a killer. And I don't like Batman who kills. I feel like you must be able to write a better scenario. Like, have Ra's be the one who makes the train unstoppable or something. I don't know.
See, yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, because I feel like...
No, you know what?
I feel like another version of Batman would have incapacitated Rage, and then he would have, give him over to the police. He would not have let him.
You know
die.
what you do? You have Batman try to save Rage, and then Rage just kicks him in like the belt, and he hits a button that activates the wing flap, and then Batman shoots out, and he can't save Rage, but he tries, and Rage just makes it impossible to do it. You do something like that. I don't like that he kills Rage, and he does kill Rage, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think they tried. Now, the more I think about it, I think they tried to make it morally ambiguous, but it's really not. He did kill Rage. Like, there's no getting around that.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, I think they tried to make it, you basically brought this on yourself, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He did not plan to crash with the train.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I want to talk about, and maybe I've misunderstood this, but I'm not sure, is Raz says a line in this where he's like, oh, the League of Shadows has brought down all these civilizations when they got too big and too decadent, like Rome and Constantinople and shit. And then he says, and here, even in Gotham, we tried something new. We tried economics, but we didn't factor in some of Gotham's citizens, like your father. And they basically implied that they economically caused the poverty and the crime 20 or 30 years ago in this.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of weird, because that means you've been working on this for at least 30 or 40 years. And you think this city is irredeemable, despite the fact that you are the one that caused it to be like this in big parts. And I understand that is sort of a villain thing to do, like it's an evil thing to do, which a villain could be doing. But I think it dilutes the morality of the character.
Because the thing is, Rage in this movie in particular, he's supposed to represent because I feel like, I forget who said it, but Batman villains, or I guess like superhero villains in general, are supposed to represent different traits of the main character taken to an extreme.
Yeah.
I think Rage represents Batman's vigilantism taken to an extreme.
But to an idealistic extreme that Batman can't follow. And this is not idealistic, this is just evil and morally just wrong.
Yeah, I think this line, Bogan, I absolutely agree with you. Like, you remove this line from the movie. It really, you are right. Like, I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, obviously, if you caused the city to be this steaming pile of garbage, you can't claim to be the one to clean it then later. Right? So, Gotham should have just been a steaming pile of shit on its own, and then the League of Assassins, they had nothing to do with it, but then they come in and League of Shadows in the movie, then they come in and try to get rid of it.
You can do that with a character that has a personal grudge against Gotham, or one that just pretends to be idealistic but is really evil. But Raz isn't that. They actually believe in what they're doing.
Well, they did.
That's what I was trying to get at before.
Yeah.
Where, Raj, you're saying oh yeah, that's an evil villain thing to do. But Raj does not think of himself as a villain. He thinks he's just doing what needs to be done. But you're right, it doesn't make any sense for him to think that way if the League of Shadows was the reason why Gotham turned to shit in the first place.
The villain you're describing, Bogan, with somebody who has who's doing this for a personal reason, is Bane from The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yo, are we gonna rewatch Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises too to cap this off?
We don't have to do that. We could if you want, but
I don't think I need to rewatch Dark Knight, but I have so many issues with Dark Knight Rises that's probably something to talk about.
The original.
I mean, I haven't seen Dark Knight since I first saw it, when it came out on DVD. So it would be nice to see it again, see if it holds up.
The Dark Knight Rises, the original cut of that was 4 hours long. which I think that probably explains a lot of the issues that that people have with it. Is just because you only saw like 60% of the actual fucking movie.
That's not my fault, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Get a better project manager, Nolan.
Yeah, or maybe release like an actual like full cut of the movie with actually like complete the story.
Release the Snyder cut.
I'd watch a 4-hour version of The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there are aspects there that are cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, I think I would have to take a break halfway through. 4 hours of that fucking thing.
Well,
that movie is fucking miserable too.
You didn't watch the Snyder cut?
No.
Of what? Justice League? No.
Oh. Okay.
Why would I?
It's good.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have any interest.
Okay, fine. Your loss.
I guess.
So I need to decide if I think this movie is a 3 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5. And I thought after this discussion I would be clear on this. I'm now less clear on what I want to give it.
You guys come into this conversation drunk out of your mind. You have no clue what you're talking about. This is the best live-action Batman movie.
No.
Yes, it is. It has the best car.
it does have a really cool car.
Yeah.
Oh God, that scene when it's like, it's black and it looks like a tank. That made me laugh so hard. Great.
That was something else about this movie. There were certain scenes that were obviously like that was like clearly a scene meant to be funny. But like there were certain scenes where I wasn't sure if the movie was trying to be funny or not, because I laughed at a bunch of stuff in this movie and I feel like half of it was unintentional.
Like what?
I'm Batman.
Yeah. I've never been bothered by the voice. Like the voice does get like it's not ideal.
I'm not even just talking about voice. I'm talking about that specific scene where the guy's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Batman."
You laughed at that? I think that's a cool scene.
I thought it was hilarious. I didn't think it was cool. I thought it was fucking funny.
Wow. You know,
what I thought was funny was like during that same scene, Batman looks at the hobo that he gave his jacket to like all those years ago, and he's like, "Nice coat."
Yeah.
He just flies off.
You know, this is the reason. This movie is the reason we got Casino Royale.
Wait, what makes you say that?
Barbara Broccoli, she went on record stating this. So when they were rebooting it, they were like getting a new actor in. They had heard about this movie being in production, and they were like, just the idea of a reboot that wasn't quite as like a chewed out concept back then, because like it was actually pretty novel. Like people, I remember, had to be told that this is out of continuity from the other ones. Like this is not part of the Tim Burton ones. This is not the origin of that, and just that novel concept of you don't need to like all this previous continuity. You can put that to the side, and you can tell your own story. And it doesn't need to be burdened by any of that stuff. The Broccolis were, not, I think Albert Broccoli had passed away, but Barbara Broccoli cited this movie as like a big inspiration on that one.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so do we have any closing thoughts, any final words on Batman Begins?
It's the best live-action Batman movie. I'm right.
I think I'm going to give it a 4.
Yes.
There are good aspects about it, and my biggest problem was one line.
Yeah, okay. I think the tie-in video game was also
the action was
pretty
problem,
okay.
yeah. Sorry, what?
The tie-in video game they did on the PlayStation 2, from memory, that's like kind of an underrated gem. Like it's not like a masterpiece. It's not as good as like Arkham Asylum or anything. But that's like a solid movie tie-in game.
Okay, I have no clue.
Yeah.
If the Batman, the Dark Knight, and the original Tim Burton, which I haven't rewatched in a while either. If those three are my top three, then Batman Begins is probably number 4.
Oof. Oof.
I mean, it's certainly better than Batman and Robin. It's better than Batman Forever. It's better than It's better than Batman Returns. It's better than Dark Knight Rises.
I love Batman and Robin with Clooney. I think that's like a great example of you are all mad at this, not because it's bad, but because it's not what you wanted. But the moment you get what you want, like you want a dark, gritty Batman, okay, you got that with Nolan. Now that you have that, actually go back and watch that movie on its own terms. It is incredible. It's just a modernization of the Adam West show, and it is really funny, and it's really good. People need to, like, get over the idea of...
As long as you don't take it seriously.
Yeah, like, it's not... Like, what part of this movie do you think they intended to be serious? Like, it was never... Like, this was never meant to be, like...
I haven't seen it since I was a kid,
yeah, but, like,
so
there's so many... I'm not, like, not you personally... Like, there's so many people...
You're attacking me specifically.
Yeah.
You're fucking shooting a gun at me right now.
There's so many people who, like... Who hate it for being what it is. It's not written to be like a serious movie. It's a silly, dumb, goofy movie, and it's incredibly good at being that. I love that movie.
I do feel bad. Like, even Schumacher, like, apologized for it. It's like, yeah, you did your best, dude.
Schumacher was an incredible filmmaker. He did Phantom of the Opera. We were talking about musical theater earlier. That movie would have been pretty good if not for Jared Butler. Because he can't sing for shit. Anyways.
All right. Do we have anything to plug? Anything we want to hype our audience for in the future? I know you probably have 30 videos on obscure From Software games, Acer.
Yeah, like Elden Ring.
Yeah, like that one. I did a video on that one. That video did really well. Best performing video I've ever done. Like in that early launch window.
Congratulations.
Thank you both. You didn't sound
enthusiastic
at all. But okay.
It was sincere.
Well, do you want me to jump out of my seat?
Yeah.
Start like rip my shirt off and be like, "Oh, Acer."
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on, let me get the champagne.
Anyways, fuck you, Daniel. I am working on an Armored Core video. But I'm also like, I got some other buns in the oven, let's say. Maybe...
Ooh, I like buns.
Buns are good. I'm maybe doing, maybe finally finishing up the Bioshock video series I left dormant back in 2018. So that's going to be fun. And I'm thinking of doing a Ratchet & Clank video. I've just been sitting on this idea for so long. I feel like I just need to do it so that I, so it becomes like, it's hard to work on a video when I have this idea in the back of my mind. So I just need to get it out of the way. Mm-hmm. What are you guys doing?
Cool. Boken, what you been up to?
I mean, nothing in video terms. But
Nothing in video terms.
I've been playing, I finished the World of Warcraft patch. I now have my, the fuck is it called? Ahead of the Curve achievement. My guild beat the final boss, so now I'm free of that. And I've been spending more time on the Valorant and Street Fighter V. So I am doing shit. It's just nothing that comes to
nothing
video
video related.
Yeah, but I do love my competitive games.
I feel like you should edit all the podcasts.
Why?
Because I'm always...
Because my hobbies are less than yours?
Yes. Nah, I'm joking. I mean, you just have a computer that's not rendering video at all times. Just sitting there.
No, it's running games all the time. Just can't talk about them.
Right. Well, the last thing I uploaded was the Star Wars video, which is I'm pretty happy with. Although, for whatever reason, I guess because of the stuff with Bloober Team possibly doing a remake, my Silent Hill 4 video all of a sudden started getting some attention.
Ooh.
And that's like at 20K views now, which is pretty nice. So you can go ahead and rewatch that. But I do have some stuff in the chamber. I have stuff that I'm working on. I have like 3 videos locked and loaded. They're just finishing touches, and I'll be releasing them in a spaced out manner. And I do have another script I'm working on, and some other stuff. But anyways, that's pretty much it. That's all the time that we have for this episode. Thank you all for watching and listening. This has been Essays and Espresso. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.